Welcome. Today, we're diving into a place shrouded in secrecy. North Korea. It's often called the most tightly controlled country on Earth, where over 25 million people live under rules that defy our imagination. Beyond the military parades and propaganda, real lives unfold, lives shaped by a system unlike any other. So, what is it really like to live inside the Hermit Kingdom? Let's peel back the layers. We'll explore the all-encompassing system of state control, the Kim dynasty's grip on power, and the evolving roles of North Korean women. This is a complex emotional topic, but it's crucial to understand. Stick around, and let's try to make sense of this together. Ready? Let's get started. To understand North Korea, start with one word: control. In this country, control is not just a policy or a preference, it is the very foundation upon which society is built. Every aspect of life is carefully managed, monitored, and molded by the state, creating a world where personal freedom is almost unimaginable. This isn't just about rules, it's a system that shapes your entire life from birth to death. From the moment you are born, your path is largely determined by forces beyond your control, and every day is lived under the watchful eyes of the regime. At its core is the Songbun system, a caste-like hierarchy based on your family's political loyalty, stretching back generations. Songbun is not just a label, it is a fate, a social DNA that follows you everywhere, affecting every opportunity and relationship. If your ancestors were loyal to the regime, you're in the core class, privileged with better jobs, homes, and food. You might live in the capital, enjoy access to education, and have a future that feels secure, at least by North Korean standards. If not, you're relegated to the hostile class, facing constant suspicion and hardship. Life in the countryside is harsh, with limited access to food, healthcare, and even basic rights. The shadow of your family's past never leaves you. Songbun dictates where you live, what you study, and even if you can visit the capital, Pyongyang. Movement is tightly restricted. Travel permits are rare and often denied to those deemed untrustworthy. You don't choose your job, the state assigns it, and you're expected to stay for life. Your education, career, and even your marriage prospects are all filtered through the lens of loyalty and class. Daily life is monitored through neighborhood groups called Inminban, where leaders track your every move and organize self-criticism sessions. These meetings are not optional. They are a ritual of confession and surveillance, reinforcing the idea that you are always being watched. Loyalty to the supreme leader trumps even family ties. The leader is not just a political figure, but a near-divine presence, demanding absolute devotion from every citizen. Public displays of emotion for the leaders are mandatory. Crying on cue can be a matter of survival. These orchestrated outpourings of grief or joy are not just for show. They are a test of loyalty, and failing them can have dire consequences. The fear of informants is ever present. A careless word can send your family to a prison camp. Neighbors, co-workers, even friends may be watching, ready to report any sign of disloyalty. Propaganda is relentless. State media floods every home, and the internet is replaced by a censored intranet. Every story, every image, every word is carefully crafted to reinforce the regime's narrative and suppress independent thought. Accessing foreign media is a crime, sometimes punishable by death. Even a single foreign movie or song can be considered an act of treason, and the consequences are severe for entire families. Yet, cracks are appearing. Black markets, or Jangmadong, have emerged, and smuggled USB drives bring glimpses of the outside world. These underground networks are risky, but they offer hope and a taste of freedom to those willing to take the chance. Still, the state's grip is powerful, demanding not just obedience, but conformity in thought. From childhood, citizens are taught to think alike, act alike, and never question the system. Individuality is dangerous. Dissent is crushed. Any sign of independent thinking is met with swift and brutal punishment, ensuring that fear remains a constant companion. Imagine every choice, your job, your home, your friends, being made for you. The sameness is not accidental, it is by design, a way to erase difference and enforce unity. Imagine performing loyalty every day, knowing one mistake could doom your family. The pressure is relentless, and the stakes are unimaginably high. Could you endure such control? Could you live every day with the knowledge that your fate and your family's depends on your ability to conform? Let us know in the comments. What would you do in a world where every move is watched and every word could be your last? This is the architecture of North Korean life, a society built on surveillance, fear, and enforced loyalty. Every system, every rule, every ritual is designed to maintain the regime's absolute power. The collective is everything, the individual, nothing. In North Korea, the needs of the state always come first, and personal desires are sacrificed for the supposed good of all. It's a world few can truly imagine. The silence, the sameness, the ever-present sense of being watched, these are the realities of daily life. Let's move on to the family at the center of it all, the dynasty that built and maintains this architecture of control. If Songbun is North Korea's software, the Kim family is the hardware, the unyielding foundation upon which the entire system is built. Their presence is woven into every aspect of life, from the highest halls of power to the most humble homes. This isn't just a dictatorship, it's a dynasty, a modern-day kingdom where power passes through bloodlines. The Kim family's rule is absolute, and their legacy is carefully curated, generation after generation, to ensure their grip on the nation never loosens. Kim Il-sung, the eternal president, founded the state and built a cult of personality so intense it became the nation's core ideology. His image is everywhere, his words are law, and his story is taught as sacred history from childhood. His son, Kim Jong-il, inherited power, making North Korea the world's first communist monarchy. Under his rule, the myth of the Kim family only grew, with new layers of secrecy and spectacle added to the regime. Kim Jong-un, the current leader, took over in his 20s, solidifying the family's rule with purges and displays of absolute authority. He has shown a ruthless determination to eliminate any threat, real or imagined, to his family's reign. The Kim's power is protected by hereditary elite guards, and even names are controlled. No one can share the leader's name. This extends to every corner of society, reinforcing the idea that the Kims are not just rulers, but living legends. The Juche calendar starts with Kim Il-sung's birth, centering all history around the dynasty. Time itself is measured by the Kim family as if the nation's very existence began with them. The family's portraits hang everywhere, objects of mandatory reverence. Every home, school, and office must display them, and they are to be kept spotless at all times. Citizens must bow to them, and stories of people dying to save these portraits are celebrated. These acts are held up as the highest form of loyalty, reinforcing the idea that the Kims are worth more than life itself. Now, Kim Jong-un's daughter, Kim Ju-ai, is being introduced to the public, hinting at a fourth generation of rule. Her appearances are carefully staged, suggesting the dynasty is preparing for its next chapter. The Kims are Songbun Level 0, a class above all others, the living embodiment of the nation. Their status is untouchable and their word is final. North Korea is a nuclear-armed feudal kingdom, where power is inherited, not earned. The military might on display is as much about protecting the dynasty as it is about defending the country. The dynasty's survival is the system's sole purpose. Every institution, every law, and every ritual is designed to ensure the Kim family's continued dominance. It's a surreal blend of ancient monarchy and modern totalitarianism. The architecture of Pyongyang itself is a testament to this strange fusion, with palatial monuments standing alongside stark modernist structures. The Kims are the law, the truth, and the light in their kingdom. Their images are illuminated at night, a constant reminder that their gaze never leaves the people. This is the world they've built, a family throne surrounded by missiles, where loyalty is demanded and dissent is unthinkable. But beneath this grand spectacle, ordinary people, especially women, must find ways to survive and adapt. Their daily lives are shaped by the demands of the regime and the ever-present shadow of the Kim dynasty. Next, the women of the Hermit Kingdom, navigating a world where the family on the throne shapes every moment of their existence. In North Korea's rigid patriarchal society, women's lives are often overlooked, but their story is one of quiet change and remarkable resilience. While the outside world sees only the surface, beneath it, North Korean women are quietly shaping the future of their country, often in ways that go unnoticed by the regime and the rest of the world. The state promotes a specific beauty ideal, natural, wholesome, and distinctly Korean. Makeup is discouraged, and fashion is tightly policed. Women are expected to embody the image of the ideal citizen, modest, disciplined, and loyal to the nation. Even small acts of self-expression, like a hint of lipstick or a colorful accessory, can be seen as acts of quiet defiance. The traditional Chosanot dress is a symbol of national identity, mandatory for holidays and official events. Wearing it is not just about tradition, it's a visible sign of loyalty to the state and a reminder of the country's deep-rooted values. For decades, women were banned from wearing pants in public, a rule rooted in enforcing traditional gender roles. This restriction was strictly enforced, with violators facing public shaming or even punishment, reinforcing the idea that women must remain within narrowly defined boundaries. Under Kim Jong-un, and influenced by his stylish wife Ri Sol-ju, this has started to change. Pants are now more common, especially in Pyongyang. The sight of women in trousers signals a subtle but significant shift, hinting at a new era where women can express themselves just a little more freely. Even in the most controlled society, culture evolves, sometimes from the top down, sometimes from the bottom up. Generational change is visible in the way young women dress, walk, and interact, blending tradition with cautious modernity. Recently, the regime has allowed select women to become state-approved vloggers, showcasing an idolized North Korean life on YouTube. These women are carefully chosen and trained, their every word and gesture monitored to ensure they reflect the state's narrative. These women present cheerful modern images, but their content is carefully scripted propaganda. Their videos are designed to project an image of happiness and prosperity, masking the daily hardships most North Koreans face. Still, it's a new, sophisticated form of information control, using global platforms to shape perceptions. The regime is learning to harness the power of social media, blending old propaganda with new technology to reach audiences both inside and outside the country. Beyond propaganda, women are the backbone of the black markets, or jongmadong, that keep families fed as the state's distribution system fails. In these bustling markets, women trade goods, negotiate prices, and build networks of support, often at great personal risk. These market women, or donju, have become breadwinners and entrepreneurs, carving out spaces of autonomy and power. Their resourcefulness has transformed the economy from the ground up, creating new opportunities and challenging old hierarchies. They are agents of change, navigating a world of strict rules and daily survival. Every day, they make difficult choices to protect their families and secure a better future, often relying on their wits and courage. The story of North Korean women is one of contradictions, traditional roles and new freedoms, propaganda and real resilience. They live at the intersection of old and new, balancing the expectations of the state with their own hopes and ambitions. Through small shifts, fashion, entrepreneurship, even social media, we glimpse a changing reality. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a testament to their determination and adaptability. North Korean women are not just passive subjects, they are resourceful, courageous, and central to their country's survival. Their strength is woven into the fabric of daily life, from the fields to the markets, from the home to the digital world. Their inner lives remain hidden, but their impact is undeniable. Behind every quiet glance and careful gesture lies a story of endurance and hope. In a world of control, they find ways to adapt and endure. Their resilience is a quiet force, shaping the future of North Korea in ways both visible and unseen. Their story is still being written. With every passing year, North Korean women continue to redefine what it means to survive, to hope, and to lead in the Hermit Kingdom. As we close this chapter, let's remember, the women of North Korea are not just symbols of their nation's struggles, they are the authors of its quiet revolutions. That's our journey through North Korea, a land of control, dynastic power, and quiet resilience. It's easy to see only the headlines, but behind them are millions of individuals navigating a reality we can barely imagine. The more we learn, the more questions arise. If you found this eye-opening, like and subscribe for more deep dives. What surprised you most? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'll keep exploring the world's most secretive places, shining a light on hidden stories. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, and see you next time.